I'm Lynn Morgan. I represent Grand Isle County in the western portion of the town.
And Jed Lipsky from Water One, so, well,
Of Sidonia is our committee assistant. Representative Nelson will probably be stepping in a moment, and we'll turn it right over to you.
Okay, sounds great. So just really thank you for the opportunity to share with everyone a little bit about Salvation Farms and just an update on the state appropriation. So again, my name is Kelly Dolan. I'm the executive director of Salvation Farms. I've been with the organization since about June. I'm joined today by Tony Rizzitano. Tony is the program director for Salvation Farms. And online we have Richie and Connie Horhan. They are the owners and operators of Cabot Smith Farm in Cabot, Vermont. And we're also joined today by Kim Lipinski. Kim is the director of nutrition and wellness for the Central Vermont Council on Aging. Great. So as Chair Durfee mentioned, some of you are very familiar with Salvation Farms and perhaps some of you are new to our work. So really our mission is to foster a future where local farms feed local communities. So we work to reduce food loss on farms, increase the use of locally grown food, and strengthen community food security through agricultural surplus. And in terms of agricultural surplus, this includes food from farms that isn't reaching traditional markets. And this can be for a variety of reasons. It can be that the buyer falls through. It can be because of a labor shortage or because of market specifications, think too big, too small, or deemed imperfect in some other way. So our team works to distribute that food back into the community, and that work is done in partnership with charitable food sites or with institutional buyers. So our vision is a Vermont where surplus farm food is put to good use. At the heart of our work is the belief that a strong food system isn't just about food, it's about relationships that build towards communities, strong communities and farms. So according to our own internal research, there's about 14.3 million pounds of vegetables and berries from Vermont farms that end up as food loss each year. At the same time, about 1 in 4 individuals in Vermont are accessing food from an institution on a regular basis. And also, according to a study conducted by UVM in 2022, an estimated 2 in 5 Vermonters experienced food insecurity in that year. So our processing program works to bridge the gap by addressing barriers between institution and farms. So we target untapped markets by working with prisons, schools, and other institutional buyers that traditionally are priced out of the local food market. A recently published article by Claire Whitehouse and David Connor from UVM states that, quote, given labor shortages, institutions often prefer lightly processed pre-cut produce. And that, quote, the interplay of local food pricing and institutional budgets is the biggest barrier to institutional local food procurement. So in terms of our plans for moving forward with the hub, so as we mentioned in 2023, the organization received a $500,000 appropriation from the state of Vermont. And these were funds meant to establish a food processing hub for agricultural surplus. To date, we have identified a location for this facility. It's a 6,100 square foot former pharmacy, and it's located on Congress Street in downtown Morrisville. Once the fit up is complete, the hub will aggregate, minimally process, and develop markets and distribution models in collaboration with farms and institutions. Local produce will then displace food sourced from outside of Vermont and reduce cost burden for institutions while addressing food insecurity. In addition, the hub will provide employment opportunities for individuals with barriers to work. Perhaps most notably, the hub will further farm viability and economic development in Vermont's rural communities by providing a much needed additional revenue stream for farm owners. With shifts in federal funding, supporting projects that will create long-term resiliency are all the more important. So our new hub will serve as an important piece of infrastructure, creating more resiliency for Lamoille County, the Northeast Kingdom, and the entire state of Vermont. So in terms of our organizational story and how we got to where we are today, Salvation Farms is about 20 years of work within the food system, working on creating avenues for surplus food. So in 2004, Teresa Snow, Salvation Farms founder and former ED, established a gleaning program within the Vermont Food Bank. And then since 2012, there have been a number of different iterations of our processing program, including collaborations with the Department of Corrections, the Food Venture Center in Hardwick, and our own processing hub that was originally sited in Winooski. And at this time, I'm going to hand it off to Tony Rizzitano to talk more about our current processing program.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, I'd like to just talk a little bit about what our current operations look like as we are in this planning phase for the next iteration of this program. So for the past few years, we've been renting space at the Vermont Food Venture Center in Hardwick. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the space, but it has kitchen units that are available for rental that come equipped with all sorts of processing equipment. We have some of our own. And so we're able to get in there a few times a month. Primarily what we've been doing is product and process development and refinement, and using those products to start some market development. So over the last few years, we've worked with 15 crops and have developed over 20 unique products with those crops, and have been working with partners in the school system, the Department of Corrections, charitable food system, and even some private businesses to take the products that we've been making and let them sample it, let them provide us with some feedback on format, packaging, quality, price points, that kind of thing, and really try to hone in on what are the most desirable end products for their kitchens and their individual situations, and use that to inform us as to the product lineup that we're putting together. We've also been working on the back end for business plan development. So we have two consultants that we've been putting a business plan together with, looking to put everything from seasonal throughput to labor, equipment needs, everything that we would need to sort of plot this out for the next 3 years, and make sure that we've got everything in place to launch this successfully and keep it going successfully. We've also been exploring space sharing opportunities with different local farms and food businesses. Processing infrastructure is sort of hard to come by up in our neck of the woods. And so there are farms that have expressed interest in, like, oh, hey, it would be great to be able to come and rent a kitchen space for a little bit and make a product, or supply you with a product and you could make something for us. And just trying to get that in place so we have a phased approach that we're scaling up over the next few years. Another big component of this program over the years has been workforce development. So as Kelly mentioned, we had one of our early iterations of this was at the Southern State Correctional Facility many years ago. And we were working on site. We had a building on the campus of that prison where we had sorting facilities set up. We were working with inmates on a day-to-day basis, helping them with work skills and develop food handling skills and that sort of thing. When they closed that prison, there were no other sites within the state that could absorb that program. And so we were sort of left to find our own spot again. So that's when we moved to Winooski and really started incorporating workforce development. So working with cohorts of folks who had barriers to employment for one reason or another, whether they were coming out of the carceral system or had substance misuse situations. And what we would do is we would have 3-month cohorts where folks would come in and they would learn about food processing. They would learn about inventory management, shipping and receiving. They would lead with a ServSafe certificate, which is a nationally recognized food handling certificate. And we would even help at that point with resume building and getting folks out into the workforce. So, yes.
Okay. Do you ever work with continued education or like through adult basic education?
CTEs you talking about?
Well, yeah, but not so much CTE at the high school level, but for adults, adult ed.
I don't know that we've had any formal work with that, like with adult ed. And our last real workforce development program ended in 2019. Before any of us were on staff, so I can't really speak to those details, but I do know, I think we were partnering with Department of Labor and the DOC to some degree of folks coming out of that system. And I'm not sure of the exact names of those programs.
Okay.
We could probably look that up though. If you were
Oh, fair enough.
interested.
Thank you.
Great. No, thank you. So looking forward, we are still planning on a workforce development component. It's going to look a little bit different this time. Planning to work with an organization called Working Fields. I'm not sure if anyone here is familiar with it, but they are a temp agency that works with folks who have barriers to employment for all of those same reasons I mentioned earlier. And so they help find people who need, sort of a fresh start, a place where they can go, learn some skills, start to build and develop a resume. The food sector is the fastest growing sector in the state. So we feel like there's a good demand for developing those skills and having people trained and ready to go into that field. So they would help connect us with some local organizations, Genesis Promise, Higher Ability, and be able to funnel folks in that way. So that's how we plan to develop some staffing. Another component of this is farm viability. And so what we're trying to do is develop paying markets for farm surplus and seconds. So as Kelly mentioned, we've estimated about 14.2 million pounds of produce never make it off Vermont farms each year for one reason or another, whether it be market saturation, cosmetic issues that keep it below market standards, labor shortages, storage shortages, whatever it may be. And so that is often just absorbed as a loss to the farm. They've already sunk costs in, whether it's labor or fertilizer, time dedicating land to it. So what we're trying to do is develop a value stream where there currently isn't one. And so to speak to that a bit, I would like to introduce Richie and Connie Horahan, who are zooming in. I think I have to stop sharing to get to that. There we go.
There.
And I'll let Richie and Connie introduce themselves. Take it from here for a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Richard. This is my wife, Connie.
Hello.
We're the Horahans. We have Cabot Smith Farm in sunny Cabot, Vermont, where good people come from. Right, Greg?
Right.
Yes. We've been working with Salvation Farm probably, 5 years? And they do really a bang-up job. And they take our products, our number twos. First of all, number twos are not rotted, are bad. I was a person once who came and there were number twos in a bin, and the person picked up a acorn squash and said, "What's wrong with this?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "It got a dimple in it." And he goes, "Well, there's nothing wrong with that." And I said, "No, but that's in a store and you have one that's picture perfect. Now think of picture perfect." And I said, "They're both $1. What would you take?" He goes, "The picture perfect one." I said, "Exactly." I said, everything has to be pleasing to the eye, picture perfect. If a zucchini is bent a little, it's culled. Stuff that's got scratched on it, it's culled. So last year we gave Salvation Farm 23,000 pounds of squash that went to, because we got a letter showing where it went to 53 places in upper state. What, Don?
In organizations. in
Organizations,
Vermont,
right, organization in Vermont. Now, this here is what my 8 guys picked out of the field while they were picking number 1s. Mostly number 2s. It would not be cost effective to bring them up to the warehouse, go through them, and then throw them away or give them away. So they stay in the fields. When the guys are going through, like zucchinis, they'll see one that's too big or skinny on each end and fat in the middle, but they're not picture perfect. They'll twist it off and drop it in the aisle and keep on going. So most of the stuff, number 2s, are left in the field. We are CAP certified, and I can't let you in my fields. And so towards the end of the season, when we stop picking, then Salvation Farms can come in and pick the ones that are on the plant. But a lot of them are left in the fields. And while I'm thinking about it, and there was a lady here, Hillary, she was here, and I said, you know something? Those rot in the fields. So it'd be a lot better off for me if they took them out of the fields. That way they wouldn't rot and cause bacteria and mold. And so I understand they're going for money to, excuse me. Shut off. Okay, they're going for money to subsidize farms for number 2s. But I got to tell you, this is not a cash cow for a farm. What it would help would be to pay my 8 guys to pick the number 2s, to bring the number 2s back up to the warehouse, or which some places is a quarter of a mile, to bring them here, to process them, and to hand them over to Tony. To sell them to, or use them, to sell them. It's something that is great. The only thing I'd get out of it is a cleaner field, probably, and pay for the labor. We do have a facility. It's a 60 by 80 warehouse. We do have a lot of yard to store them in. Corn, for an example. I plant 8 acres of corn. I plant 2 acres every week for 4 weeks. We'll start when the first field comes ripe. I don't know if you know, but like you, corn stalks have 2 ears. Okay, we'll go through and pick the best ones off for a week. After the week is done, we go into field number 2. Field number 1 might have 20% still good corn in it, but we're not going to go backwards. We start with the best, and we go through that field, and so on and so forth. Now, Salvation Farm, because they are divided by a road that we put in, they can go in field number 1 and they can pick the rest of them. I've seen times where they come out with probably 6 or 7 bins. That'd be 6,000 to 7,000 pounds of corn, which is distributed through the state. But as far as other stuff, until we're done with the field, I can't let you in there. And it came to light like zucchini, squash, the green canopy on the top. You don't see the zucchinis underneath when you drive by the field, the stuff that's left behind because of the green canopy, and then it all goes down. But we had one field, Greg, coming up from the creamery on the left, that field there, pie pumpkins. We picked all the good ones and went through them 2 or 3 times. And then Ricardo knocked them down. And then all of a sudden, we're driving down there, and it's got to be like a tractor, like a dump trailer load of pie pumpkins. And it's like, holy moly, what the heck? And I said, Ricardo, and he goes, no. He said, no, those are all have defects. Either they got dimples in them, or they're 2 of them that cling together, And he said, no, those are them. But they got plowed under. Or Salvation Farm came. I really beg you to do this because the cuts from the federal government to feed the kids in school, they're only kids. This is not fair to them. I would love it if you did this because this gives them a chance for this winter. Like right in this fall, we knock off after first frost, killing frost. And will go up until the chain store that I sell to they'll buy everything, and usually by Thanksgiving, I'm sold out. But after that, there's none. But with Tony's idea and what Tony's going to do, he can feed kids all the way till they get out of school.
Get it, process
And
it
get it
and
processed
freeze it.
and freeze it. It's. Any questions? You have any questions? I'm done.
Thank you. Yeah, let's see if we have any committee questions. Representative Nelson.
Either for you, Richie, or Tony. That sweet corn, are you taking it and selling it on the cob, or are you parboiling it, slicing it and flash freezing it? Cause there's no better than a taste of summer in the middle of winter to have local Vermont corn.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we did that second option. So basically what we're doing is taking those ears, those extra ones that Richie was talking about, and we'll top and tail them and cut them in half.
Mhm.
And they typically are providing a great kid-sized portion,
Yeah.
as they call it. So we do a quick par cook process. We freeze them right on
On the cob.
And and so we'll put those in what we call a bib format, a bag and box format. So that I think it's about a 60 count, depending on the size
Mhm.
of the ears. And so a school can just kind of open that up and that's ready to go. And
And
it's like,
they finish cooking it off.
yeah,
So it doesn't matter if it's a 13-inch ear to begin with or an 8-inch ear, because you're top and tailing.
yeah,
If you get two portions, great. If you get one, fine.
yeah. 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 And that's, oftentimes, as Richie said, corn has two ears, just like all of us.
Mhm.
Those second ears are often a little underdeveloped and not
8-inch.
hassled out, that kind of thing. And so like that topping process, that really eliminates that concern part, that, visible part, and you're left with a great ear of corn right there. Yeah,
Absolutely,
that's what it's a.
absolutely. Richie, I would take your dimpled acorn squashes. I'm not afraid of it at all.
Right, but if there was a nicer one, more eye appealing, and they're both $1, 99% of the people would take the perfect.
I'd give you $1 for the dimple.
Thank Yeah. And I've talked to the chain store that we work with. I said, could you do seconds? Can you sell them? And they said, I understand where you're coming from, but no, because if you put them in the store and there was a sizable difference in price, people would buy the seconds in a heartbeat before they buy the good ones. So the perfect ones would just be left there.
So, yeah, our major customer has standards and, we have to follow those standards.
Yeah, zucchini squash has to be straight. And they gotta be 6 to 7 inch. They can't be 9, they can't be 5. They have to be 6 to 7 inch. Cucumbers, they have to be straight. They cannot be bent. If they're bent, they're culled. Either that or they reject loads. They've gone as far as, didn't happen to me. A guy sent in a load of buttercup squash. Buttercup and kabocha is just about the same thing. They're both, you look in a seed catalog under buttercup and a little section says kabocha. He sent them in as kabocha. They rejected the whole load. That load went for $15,000 to $17,000 because the slip said kabocha on it. So they're really, really strict
Yeah.
about what they sell and what they do. And again, it's a great program. I hope you guys go along with it.
Good, thank you very much, and you're welcome to,
This lady
I know
over here has a
you've
question.
been zooming all day, but if you want to, I'm sorry, go ahead,
Okay,
Representative
just a quick
Bassan.
question. So I guess I'm just wondering logistically a little bit how that works with the seconds. So they come in, they take your seconds. Do they then give you like 50% of what you would have gotten if you had sold it? Or you donate that and take it as a write-off? How does the cash work in terms of supporting you as a farmer?
Write-offs, what we're told by my bookkeeper, the The seeds, you wrote it off. Labor, you wrote it off. Fertilizers, pesticide, herbicides, you wrote it off. You already wrote everything off, so there is no write-off.
Okay,
So we're basically just been donating them.
okay.
Good question. Thank you.
But it
Greg?
beats, go ahead, Greg.
What's that?
I thought Greg had his hand up.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to say what a terrific job Richard and Connie do on their farm, and I bought pumpkins and squash from them in the past, so they're kind of a staple in our community for being able to provide that. And then they work with the school, they've grown Christmas trees over the years and strawberries, and they do a wonderful job.
How many acres do you have altogether?
Total overall between here and Lindenville, this year it'll be around 110 to 120. I also grow in Lindenville.
Large operation.
Anything else you
One other
wanted to
fact
add?
is
John?
that, school kids. The schools through Salvation Farm will take like, Cabot, Twinfield, St. Johnsbury, Danville. They bring kids here in school buses
To glean.
to glean, and they'll go through them with them, and they glean the fields. And after the kids are done, they take pictures, and these kids have such a smile, a look on their face like, I accomplished something for humanity. I'm happy. And then it's like, I know where food comes from now. And it's gives them a new perspective. We need new farmers. We need a lot of new farmers. I'm 76 years old. I won't be walking here much longer before I've gone out the door. And we need people. Greg is an odyssey. He's a very young farmer. Thank God for that. But we need young farmers. We need kids to know and learn what's going on, how to do it, and do it properly the first time, taught by somebody who already made that mistake. And so they won't. The population of farmers throughout the United States is 2% of the population. And most of us are over 65 years old.
So it's good to expose the kids to that.
Yes.
And
right.
Salvation Farms has brought so many young people to our farm to glean, which is, letting them know, and showing them where food comes from and how it grows.
It even brought the Department of Ag, Vermont Department of Ag here to glean. Thank God.
All right, well, thank you for sharing that your story. Thank you for working with Salvation Farms too. They couldn't do the work that they do without the farms who agree to participate. So thank you on behalf of all of us.
Thank you for having me, having us.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you both.
Take care.
Thank you.
Soon as we could learn how to turn this thing off.
Share again.
I don't know where the little thingy went. There we go. You want to leave or?
Great, thanks. So that is one of our farm partners. Wanted to talk really quickly about our institutional partners as well. So where is this product going after we get it from the farm, we process it, and what are the benefits of these institutional partners? So for folks that are running commercial kitchens, the really big hits for this kind of product line is time savings. So a lot of kitchen operations are very understaffed. It's hard to find labor, and to turn a box of produce into a box of chopped, ready to go stuff, it takes time. It takes someone standing there with a knife and a cutting board and going. And with the products that we're putting out, you can see some photos there. It's some zucchini and yellow squash. It shows up frozen, chopped, ready to go. You can cut the bag open and put it right in. It gives year-round access to local products. To what Richie was saying earlier, once the frost hits, he can't sell local, products to schools anymore. But if we're able to take them, freeze them, these products are available to be metered out throughout the school year, and it really changes the game in terms of what's available to use in the kitchen. Less concerns with perishability. And one other thing I want to talk about is just like, these are single ingredient products. We do not put any sodium, any additives, any sugars. And so a lot of the schools and institutional partners have really tight nutritional guidelines they're trying to hit. And so this gives them a nice blank canvas to sort of put in and then doctor from there as they see fit. So we do have an institutional partner here. We have Kim Lipinski from the Central Vermont Council on Aging, and I would love to turn the chair over to her for a few minutes.
Thank you, Tony.
Welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Kim Lipinski. I'm the Director of Nutrition and Wellness at the Central Vermont Council on Aging. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about the impact that this program that they've developed with these minimally processed foods has had on the Meals on Wheels program. So in my position, we manage 13 Meals on Wheels kitchens in Central Vermont. And they have a directive from our area plan and from the Age Strong Vermont plan to develop medically tailored meals or therapeutic meals for the Meals on Wheels programs. And there's a lot of barriers to doing that. One of them is cost and labor, which is almost the same thing. For example, if one option for them to get produce would be to have, let's say, butternut squash dropped off, cases of butternut squash. Well, our volunteers in our kitchens are mostly older adults. And if you've ever tried to cut a butternut squash in half, it's not easy, and they'll just say, no, I'm not doing that, So to get the products minimally processed is really, really important for physical labor reasons. But also when you're reducing labor, you're reducing cost. So that really helps their bottom line. The other thing I want to mention is that it's really important that these foods are single ingredient only, no sodium added, no sugar, no preservatives or anything else. And also what they're doing by minimally processing these foods at the peak of their ripeness is they're capturing all the nutrient value in that food at that time and freezing it and holding it. So it really is a very healthy alternative for people. So the other thing that meal sites need to do in order to provide medically tailored meals or therapeutic meals is build their capacity overall. So if they're doing, every meal site does a low sodium heart healthy meal as their baseline meal. But then you have someone that comes in and needs a renal meal. Then you need diabetic meals. Maybe you need gluten-free meals. Maybe you need vegetarian meals and all of those sorts of things. That's all extra work and extra labor. And they're being directed that they must do this. So they have to save money and they need to save time. And that's exactly what these products do for them. The other thing I want to mention too is that through the Age Strong Vermont plan, there are specific objectives. I'm sure you're familiar with some of them. The ones around food are these three: to reduce food insecurity for all Vermonters, to increase the number of older Vermonters who can age in place, and reduce the need for family friends to provide full-time care or assistance to a family or friend. And that's what the Meals on Wheels program does. It keeps people in their homes and it relieves the burden of the caregivers or the family members, whoever that is. And I think that anything that we can do to make the Meals on Wheels programs more viable, sustainable, stronger, is going to feed right into this Age Strong Vermont plan and help all Vermonters, including the families of the recipients of the Meals on Wheels meals. And then I also want to mention that there's an element of health equity here. So if you go to your doctor and he tells you you have kidney disease and you need this specialized diet with special ingredients and not this food and yes, this food, and it's very complicated, you might be able to hire a dietitian. You might even be able to buy those meals or produce them yourselves with guidance from your dietitian, which is probably covered by your insurance. Not everyone has that available to them. But through Meals on Wheels, someone could have that diagnosis and say, I now need a renal meal, and they can get that meal. The other thing we provide is free nutrition counseling for any Vermonter that's age 60 and over. So anytime we do an intake and someone needs any type of therapeutic meal, they're offered nutrition counseling to help them manage their chronic diseases through their diet.
Representative O'Brien.
Kim, with Meals on Wheels, besides, say, a hot meal delivered are sometimes these lightly processed nutritious foods left for future meals for those recipients?
No, and that's because to be eligible for Meals on Wheels, you have to have the inability to provide meals for yourself. So by being eligible for a Meals on Wheels meal, you really don't have the capability to be cooking on your own. But the food is incorporated into our congregate meals, which are community meals that we have. So they're used in that. And the other place we use them is in our training program for the Meals on Wheels cooks. We bring these products in to teach them how to use these minimally processed foods. So for example, just think about making mashed potatoes for 250 people, right? Peeling all those potatoes, boiling them, mashing them. Well, you can buy ready-made mashed potatoes with nothing added, and that's really important. They're just plain mashed potatoes. The time and labor savings is amazing, the mashed potatoes, and they love the mashed potatoes. Everybody wants mashed potatoes.
Everything in Morgan.
Who determines whether the individuals or family in the household are capable or not of providing themselves?
We have a really extensive intake process with a lot of questions that we ask them. We interview each candidate when they want to sign up for Meals on Wheels. Sometimes we're talking to a family member, sometimes we're talking to the individual, but we have very clear questions. One of them is, that's really important, are you still driving? Because if someone is still driving, they could essentially go to a congregate meal or get a to-go from a Meals on Wheels. And so that's when we would tell them, well, you know, you could pick your meal up. Are you able to pick your meal up? So they would pick up a meal instead of having it home delivered, because there's extra added costs to having it home delivered. But it gets tricky. So people, when you do their intakes, they don't want to admit to their deficits, as any of us would. So people will say, yes, I'm driving, you know, and we'll say, oh, so you have to dig a little deeper. And we have to say, can you go to a grocery store, push a cart and go around the whole store, reach the upper shelves and get all the food you need? Oh, no. I drive, but I do the drive-through at the pharmacy. Do you know what I mean? So you start to get the picture. You know what I mean? The intake process is pretty extensive, and because the other thing that we're doing is we're looking for other needs they may have. So maybe they need fuel assistance. Maybe they could use 3 squares. Maybe they could use a senior companion. Maybe they need case management. So, because oftentimes Meals on Wheels is the entry point for other services too, through the Council on Aging.
It's also a connection with the outside world.
That's the wellness check on that delivery, which is so important. We just recently surveyed our clients to inform our area plan, which is something that every area agency on aging needs to file with the state. And our area plans are for 4 years, and it outlines our goals and objectives, you know, for that work. So we include, you know, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But anyways. The survey, I'm sorry. So we just did a survey to inform our area plan, because we're writing the new one for 2026. And loneliness, isolation, and lack of companionship were number 2. Transportation was number 1, no surprise there. But number 2 was all about companionship and needing companionship.
I was just gonna say, I was invited over town meeting week to participate in the March for Meals program, and got to ride along with delivery person one morning. And yeah, the wellness check, and just I know I could see that the opportunity to connect, just make a brief connection with people was helpful.
It's so important. Yeah. And if someone doesn't answer their door, and they're always answering their door, then we take further action and we find out what's going on. Yeah, that's really important.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
very much for sharing that.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Sure.
So just to provide a little bit more information in terms of where we're at currently with the project and also with the state appropriation. So in addition to the $500,000 from the state of Vermont, $400,000 of that is in hand. We'll receive the final $100,000 as a reimbursement when the project is completed. We also received an award from the Northern Borders Regional Commission to help support the facility. And there's also a variety of different grants that we are planning to pursue to help support both operations and capital expenses. In addition to this, we anticipate that we'll need to launch a fundraising campaign to support the ongoing costs of operating this program. So in our first year, we anticipate that in 2026, the full year of operations would be around $206,000. And then, as Tony mentioned, the plan is to have sort of like a ramped up approach year after year, kind of building the facility over time. So apart from launching this capital and seed campaign, Salvation Farms is definitely in a little bit of a moment just with having a new executive director, having this new facility, lots that's happening with just the funding landscape. And so we are going to be doing a strategic planning process this spring. And then also at the same time, currently for the facility itself, we're doing the National Environmental Policy Act review process. So we're hoping that that is a fairly straightforward process for us. And then once that's finalized, the next step will be to put out a bid for construction estimates. Part of the requirements for the Northern Borders Regional Commission is that we comply with requirements of Build America, Buy America. And then once the construction is complete, we'll prepare for launch. It'll be a very exciting moment and one that we're very much so looking forward to. So just want to really express our sincere appreciation for the support of the state of Vermont. This project wouldn't have been a possibility without that support. We're really, really confident that it will have an incredibly positive impact on our state's farms, and just Vermonters' ability to access local food, reducing some of the barriers that Kim and Tony as well mentioned. And we hope that you'll join us for that day when we launch the facility and we open up. We'd love to have you there. And the last slide, this is actually just the floor plan in case you're curious what the design looks like. It's a little bit hard to see on the screen here, but the left-hand side is more of the administrative offices. The middle of the building is more of the processing space. And then towards the back of the building here are two coolers that will be launched external, and then a loading dock for incoming and outgoing product. Yeah, but just want to thank you for your time. Yeah.
I wasn't here at the beginning. Where are you proposing this build?
Yeah, so we've established, we have a site identified. It's in downtown Morrisville, which is something that we're very, very excited about.
Downtown?
Yes, yeah, so it's right at the center on Congress Street, so where the Cumberland Farms
Yeah.
is. It'll be Cumberland Farms and then Salvation Farms across the street, which is kind of,
Right across the side
Yeah.
street there.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, so it's a great location, very visible in the community.
Yes, it is.
And we're also thinking in terms of employment, very, very accessible for folks who perhaps want to work there. So really excited about that.
Timeline?
That's a really good question. The NEPA review, so this is the environmental review, can take anywhere from 1 month to a year. We're very optimistic just based on the information that we have on this location that it will be a straightforward process for us, but we're kind of in a holding pattern until we hear back the result from that. And then if we get the result back, then, we'll immediately jump into gathering construction estimates. We sort of anticipate that the earliest we could perhaps open would be in the fall of this year. But that would be, something that we are optimistic about if the environmental review goes okay. So, yeah.
That's Act 250.
What was that?
That's Act 250.
It's not an Act 250. It's from the National Environmental Protection Act. So it's actually a federal guideline, not a state level. So, yeah.
Is that a requirement of the grant that you received from the Northern?
Correct. Yeah, it's a requirement for the Northern Borders Grant. Yeah.
Thank you for the update. Great to see this level of detail and to hear that things are moving along.
Cool stuff.
All right, well, and thanks for waiting as long as you did today too.
Really fun. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your patience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we can wrap that up then. And